What's up, YouTube? It's me, Bergie, and I'm here with another book review. For today's review, it will be on Good Omens, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, Witch by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Now, this is a really random book. It's not very popular, I don't think. I mean, I haven't really heard of it. This is going to be a very jumpy book because I feel like most people are not going to really read it, so I'm not going to really care about spoilers. I'm not going to go really into detail because, I mean, I'd be basically telling you the book, like reading the book to you, which I don't want. I think people should read this book, but I'd understand it if people don't because it's not really a popular book. Although it says in the beginning that this had a lot of fame and stuff with it, which I've never heard of it before, but it's also like quite an old book. Oh no, it's 1990 copyright. It's not too old, but I think it's not as popular now, I don't think. But yeah, as I was saying, the only reason I picked it up is because my mom showed it to me when I was at the library because it reminded her of Supernatural. And if you read the back of the book, it kind of sort of has the same premise of Supernatural in the first 5 seasons when it has to do with the apocalypse and stuff. But then when you look to the first couple pages where it kind of lays out all the characters and stuff, let's see, like it lays out all the characters that are going to be in the book, you see a couple of names that kind of jump out at you and which I have never really associated with kind of like the biblical apocalypse. And the one that really got me was Crowley. I never knew Crowley was a biblical name. It might be, it might not be. I'm not sure, but I just associate Crowley with Supernatural, so I was like, yes, I definitely have to read this. And it says on the front, which is another reason why I had to pick it up, because it also seemed like Supernatural, is it says, the apocalypse has never been funnier. And I mean, a funny apocalypse, of course, I'm going to read a book about that. So that is why I picked it up, and I'm glad I did. It did take me a while to read because it is quite a big book, and the humor in it is kind of dense, which I find it humorous, but it's very like low-key, you have to really think about it, humor. I mean, there are points where there is outright hilarious parts, but most of it is kind of understated and you have to really like be focusing on it. So I actually, I couldn't read it all the time. I had to make sure I was awake so I can catch all the wit that was going around. So, yeah, as I was saying, this reminded me of Supernatural. There were other aspects of it, like the Satanic Covenant, which in Supernatural, it was, had to do with Abaddon, that kind of stuff. Then Crowley and other characters like Adam, the 4 Horsemen, and an angel, although he is not named Cass. He's named Aziraphale. Don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but he kind of shares the same characteristics as Cass. And then with Crowley, he enjoys people but still likes making their life miserable, which I'm pretty sure is true about the Crowley in Supernatural. There are other little things, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into the book. Like I said, the humor is very dry, very understated. You have to really think about it. And there's also a lot of references like that as well, where you have to kind of sit there and think. Like, you might think, oh, this sounds familiar, and then it'll hit you like that, and you're like, oh my goodness, that was kind of hilarious that they included that. Just another little thing that kind of made me laugh was that Crowley and the angel Aziraphale were talking about how they had picked different cities in London in the UK, that's where this book takes place, because instead of the Supernatural TV show, it happens in the UK. That is where the apocalypse happens. But yeah, they were saying different cities that belong to the good side and the bad side, and I just thought it was hilarious that it said Crowley took Glasgow, because I didn't think that Glasgow was a very demonic city, but I guess it is, because the demons own it, or founded it, or whatever. In this book, how it was told, it was like getting little snippets of different parts of the story, and at first you don't really see the connection But then as you go on, you see like, oh my goodness, everything is literally connected to each part. All of it is important for this apocalypse this one day. I really like the descriptions of of the Four Horsemen. Now in this, opposed to like the Bible or supernatural, they had the Four Horsemen as being war, famine, death, and pollution. Pollution instead of pestilence. And I thought that was cool because really, in this day and age, diseases don't really have as much of an effect. They still do, don't get me wrong, but I think pollution is a bigger problem, and I liked seeing that happen in the book. And also in this book, there's like a lot of true statements about humans, like about human nature and stuff, and it kind of like is like a reality check for us, like, oh, we probably should be taking better care of the world because we have to live on it. And then technology has such a hold over us that like one quote in the book about that, which I thought was great, was, it has been said that civilization is 24 hours and 2 meals away from barbarism. Did not say that correctly. Barbarism? There we go, I think barbarism. But yeah, it's true, like, if we honestly had a power outage that lasted for a while, I think everything would go down the toilet. There would be mass anarchy. So we put too much faith in technology, which is not good. There is a character called Adam, and I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible and that kind of stuff, so that's not really new. It's also in Supernatural, I guess they kind of have the same role. Adam in Supernatural, of course, was the secondary host for Michael, I think it was. I think that's who it was. He was like the vessel, that's the word. The vessel for Michael, because Dean did not want to do that, because he would have had to kill his brother, and Dean does not do that. But in this book, he kind of is also a bringer of the apocalypse. He is the Antichrist, actually, in this book, and a lot of things happened that didn't make it go that way. He wasn't like born like literally the Antichrist and was bad from the start. And we see a progression of his character. Yeah, he was a hooligan, but most kids are. He's, I think, only 11, so of course kids that age are gonna make a mess and do some bad stuff or do some stuff that are not like socially acceptable and stuff. So it's really normal. But he turns into a caring person who actually wants to save the world despite him being the Antichrist who is supposed to destroy the world. So I thought that was really cool seeing that. And also, Adam makes a lot of great points towards the end of the book concerning apocalypse and the war between the angels and the demons and that kind of stuff, and about religion in general. One thing that he says about religion is, I don't see what's so terrific about creating people as people and then getting upset because they act like people. Anyway, if you stop telling people it's all sorted out after they're dead, they might try sorting it all out while they're alive. And that's really a good point. I feel like a lot of religious people, not saying all, but I'm saying a lot, they don't really care about what they're doing, or they are not very moralistic in life because they feel like when they die, all their sins will be repented or whatever all that stuff is. So they act like a shitty person because they feel like no matter what, they're going to be forgiven in the afterlife. Which, that's not really the way to think about stuff. We're living for quite a long time now because of medicine and science and that kind of stuff. Shouldn't we try to make this life count and do something helpful for others? And be moralistic and stuff? And I feel like religion, in some cases, does not help in making the world a better place. Whether it be with, like, fighting between different religions or having different stereotypes that you kind of, like, look down upon and stuff. But I totally agree what he says, that we should try to be good. He also says that, and concerned with how the angels and demons were like, the apocalypse has to happen. It was written down. It has to happen. There's no if and or but about it. It's going to happen, and it's happening now. And Adam says that I don't see why it matters what it is written. Not when it's about people. It can always be crossed out. And I think that's another very good point. Nobody can tell you what your life is supposed to be like. Everything changes, whether it be decisions or actions or circumstances and stuff. No matter what, I don't think you have a set line of what's going to happen. I feel like, and I think it's also portrayed in this, that there might be some kind of way things are supposed to go, but I don't think there's one set way in doing that. And I don't think that really kind of went with the little quote I said, but that's what it made me think of. Adam also has another little smart speech in which he says that having the power to fix everything with the snap of your fingers isn't actually a good thing. It doesn't fix anything. You have to teach or educate people of moral and good options so they can pick the right option or the good thing to do by themselves. It's kind of like the saying where you give a boy a fish and he'll eat for one day. Teach a boy to fish and he'll eat for the rest of his life. He'll know how to survive for the rest of his life. I don't know the exact saying, but it's kind of like that, where you can't just, if someone is just gonna snap their fingers and get rid of all the troubles of the world, I mean, it's not gonna help anything. People are still gonna do bad stuff. It's just gonna be in different ways because they haven't really learned that what they're doing is wrong. So I found that as a really good statement by Adam, who is, again, only 11 years old. I think that's it. I tried to be really quick with this book. It is a really good book, and especially if you like the Supernatural TV series, you should read this book. It's not exactly the same, of course, but there's a lot of similarities, and it's honestly, even if you just like apocalyptical books and that kind of stuff, I think it's a really good book. I really enjoyed reading it. It wasn't a book I would normally go for, but it was still a good read, and it was very entertaining. A lot of the stuff, it just was really good. So I recommend reading this. Yeah, that's it for this book. I hope you liked this video and this review. Hopefully you'll like this video. I think I just said that. Why am I being redundant? Comment if you liked it or if you read the book, which I find will probably be less likely. But if you did, let me know what your favorite part of the book was. If you watched Supernatural, if you thought it was similar to the show. Also subscribe, and yeah, hope you enjoyed.